everyone, I'm CelesteOrchid and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's YouTube video is a cosplay that I was very scared to tackle when I was younger. And that's because it has gloves and a really weird bust line. But you know what? I pushed through and I was able to make it. The character in specific is from Ayazawa's Nana, and Nana is a anime, manga on hiatus series, live action dramas, and movies. It is very popular back in the early 2000s. Unfortunately, due to the hiatus, there's no more updates and no more news. So there's that. But that doesn't mean that the fandom is dead and it's still going strong. So today's cosplay is not one of the main two Nanas, but it's another female character called Layla Serizawa, often known as Reira Serizawa. That's because Japan does not have L's, but they have R's. So instead, we are going to be saying Reira or Layla. They're both interchangeable. I decided to cosplay as this ages ago. I have a few other Reira outfits, but I never actually did this outfit because I was scared of making gloves. Reira always has some kind of nice form-fitting bodice with a nice little skirt and some kind of glove added. Unfortunately, when I was a younger cosplayer, I was very scared to make them. Luckily, with this video, I'm just going to show you how I made this entire cosplay from scratch. So if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm CelesteOrchid. I've been cosplaying since 2005. I've done knitting, crocheting, sewing, like heat shaping, resin making, wig making, all since then. I've now developed my skills to be able to show it to you on YouTube. So if you would be so kind and click that red button down below to subscribe to never miss out on any future updates, and click that bell icon, you'll be able to see more things that I make in the future. Alright, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So, tutorial time! To begin this project, I have this beautiful turquoise fabric here. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know it's kind of like this satin. It has these really cool ridges in it, and I'm just like, I love it! This will add so much dimension to a very flat, boring, plain, amazing picture, and I thought this color would be perfect. I wanted to go with something teal as opposed to something black because she's got black details on the top of her bodice. Speaking of bodice, I'll be using that same pattern I use all the time. So this will be my original bodice piece, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it out. There's absolutely no shame for having the same pattern over and over again in your cosplays. As long as it works for you, go ahead and use it tons of times. Alright, and I'm just gonna leisurely cut this out. For you guys, it'll be really quick, because it's YouTube. Now this fabric is super mushy, so I'm going to be lining it with this beautiful purple fabric. This is a nice thick cotton, and I figured this will help give it a little bit of structure as opposed to just adding a lot of boning. So this will be my lining, and I'm just going to copy the exact pattern onto it. Now we're just pinning it back to the purple fabric, and we're going to cut it out. Now it's time to assemble the bodice. I'm going to go ahead and do the lining first. Then I assemble all the pieces for my outer shell, aka the teal. And look at that, my bodice is now put together after slamming my head into it. After my lights weirdly wanted to perform a seance, I folded the bodice in half and pinned it together. Now I grab something straight, kinda like this box, and I hope for the best to draw a straight line. If not, I'm gonna go back and fix it with my marker. I made sure to pin everything down and cut it out. This is going to be the new seam right underneath the bust line. Now I just pin it together, making sure that all of the seams match. I just sew these pieces back together, creating a new seam at the front. Using a store-bought pattern, I'm going to extend it to create a very nice circle skirt. When extending the hemline, it's a good idea to make marks and then connect them to have an even hemline. Unless you cut crooked, and then that's gonna suck. Taking some wonderfully sharp fabric scissors, and these are my only fabric scissors, go ahead and cut out your skirt. I'm going to use the remaining material to try to cut out more of the skirt pattern so I can make the skirt more full. I just laid my previously cut skirt on top of the fabric, pinned it, and cut it out. Now I'm going to take my skirt pieces, pin them together at the seams, and sew them together. Reira's dress has trim on the top bodice. We don't know what the bottom of the skirt looks like, but I'm going to bet that it has trim there. I still have tons of this black rose ribbon trim. I'll be adding this to the hem of the skirt. I'm going to treat this trim like a lace hem tape. It's almost like bias tape, except lace. Where you want to start is sewing the right sides together. And then flip the trim underneath the fabric, creating a clean hem with the lace popping out. Top stitch it down to secure it in place. And this is what we're doing right now, and you can see how beautiful that edge is. Next part, weirdly, I forgot to show myself adding the skirt to the bodice, so I'm just going to tell you go ahead and add the skirt to the bodice, making sure that you have a perfectly evenly spaced out skirt to your top. Now that the skirt hem is complete and attached to the bodice, we are going to add a zipper to the dress. Change your presser foot to a zipper foot and sew the zipper in.
One eternity later.
So I've been a bad cosplayer. I don't know how long ago I made this costume when they made this announcement, but this was for Layla Serizawa from Nana. And this was one of her trap nest covers, and I just never finished this costume. All it needs is the straps to be put in and then make some gloves. How lazy have I been? Can you relate to that? Can you relate being a cosplayer and knowing that you have way too much finished costumes, you haven't taken any photos of them, and you still have to finish your other pre-existing ones before starting new ones? Yeah, you should be able to relate to that because you're a cosplayer. And guess what? Today I'm going to be finishing this costume. This is a little bit of a random costume, but it has been one of my favorite outfits from Nana with Layla Serizawa. I love Layla. I love Rayra. Like, you know, the English translation is still Rayra, but her name is Layla. Just want you guys to understand that she has a very unique name. But I love her, and she's my favorite character in Nana. Let's go ahead and just add straps. And when we add the straps, we're just gonna put it here, and then put it to the back, and then it's gonna fit. Believe it or not, I created straps before I stopped working on this project. Basically, I cut out 1.5 inch wide long rectangles with the same fabric, and then individually sew them to create a tube. Flip that tube inside out, and ta-da, strap. When deciding on where to place my straps, I want to take a look at the reference. The artwork shows that the straps are at the peak of the bodice, so I'll place my straps at the peak of mine. Using pins, I pinned down the location of where I'm going to be adding the straps on my dress. Now using a needle and thread, I'm just going to sew my straps in by hand. The stitch I'm using is actually a whip stitch. After sewing on both the straps to the front, I try my dress on to see where the strap should land at the back. I carefully take note and see how much I need and where it's going to end. As a side note, I totally forgot that I have a side zipper. I'm so sorry about that. Anyways, make sure to mark where on your straps that you need to cut off. I'm going to give myself a little bit of seam allowance just in case, and plus hers does fall off the shoulder, so it's okay if it's a tiny bit loose. I made sure to leave some excess onto my strap so that it can fold over and not have a raw edge. I'm going to take the salvage edge off of the previous strap and take it to the second strap so I can have the perfect amount left over. Luckily, my straps are completely identical, so all I have to do is snip off the rest from the other one. Now I just bring my straps to the back and sew them in place with the whip stitch, just like the front part of the straps. This is all the fabric that I have left, and it is not stretchy by any means. I want my gloves to match the fabric that I have for the dress, and the dress turned out really lovely. You saw me just wear it just now without the straps being connected, but the straps are connected, and I think it would really complete the look if it had matching gloves, not other fabric. So I gotta figure out how to make gloves now. So I simply cannot just lay my hand on the fabric and trace it out like I used to, or use Yaya Han's pattern, and that is because those are made for stretchy fabrics. This fabric does not stretch as much as you think. That was on the bias. Even if I did it on the bias, I still had to worry about the grain and the width, and it does not bend that way. So I gotta figure out how to do this. I found a pattern online, but my printer's out of ink. Okay, I lucked out. Looks like my hoarding of a bunch of patterns finally paid off. I had a non-stretch glove pattern in my pattern stash this whole time. Who knew? Time to dig out the correct pieces in order to create this glove. Just in case you were wondering, it's butterneck pattern B5695. Why did I say that so robotically? Because I have a limited amount of fabric left, I want to make sure I make the most out of it. Luckily, I don't have to worry so much because this is actually a really small pattern. So I pinned my pattern down and all I have to do now is cut it out. With this pattern, I followed it to every detailed instruction to make sure I made the gloves correctly. I had a little bit of problems with the first glove and I had tons of time to seam rip it, but overall I did make a pair of gloves that makes me really happy. So whenever you have a pattern that you are new to, make sure to take your time and read it carefully. Vera's gloves has the same trim like the bodice top, so I'm going to do that same thing that I did earlier with the lace hem. I made sure to do this on both gloves. All that's left to do is close up the gloves and I am done with this cosplay. I'm just really happy that I finally got this costume off my bucket list. I've been looking at this outfit for years thinking, oh man, I'll make it one day. Okay, I'll make it one day. And finally, it feels so great to be able to get this dream cosplay off my bucket list, into my closet, and stored away forever to never be worn again. I am a little disappointed that I messed up one of the gloves, but luckily she has a finger ring that covers it. Excuse me. So luckily she has a ring to cover the mess up on one of my gloves. Thankfully, I'm done with this cosplay. I've been wanting to make this cosplay for ages and thank you so much for joining me on this ride. I was very scared on making the gloves because I've never made gloves from non-stretch material. Usually they're always stretchy and it's a lot easier to make it this way. They do fit really well and I'm lucky that I can hide some of the problems because the fabric itself has crinkles and I can wear a ring on one of the hands. So that's really nice and dandy. I know this cosplay isn't a big build, but I hope you did enjoy it. If you like this kind of content, make sure to click the red button down below to subscribe to never miss out on any future content. And what do I always say? I always say, stay inspired, be creative, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye! Wait, I don't know. My hands are messed up today. Make sure you hit that red bell to help me fix my hand motions. They just don't want to work. Alright. Also, do you think my outfit looks so Gilgamesh? It's so Gilgamesh, right? From Fate's Stay? Yeah? Yeah, you think so? Yeah? I think so. I think it's very Gilgamesh if I go like this. Okay, bye!